This year, we've kicked off 3 main focuses for learning at HMS. For our Unity and Equity focus, we're learning about classroom management to increase student engagement. For our Closing Achievement Gaps focus, we are learning how to create expectations and structures in our classrooms so that we can give students what they need in targeted small group instruction. And finally, for our literacy focus, we're working on building our knowledge to improve our learning tasks and to increase opportunities for student discourse on content. This is the focus that you'll be learning about today. So far this year, you've learned a lot about literacy, and we still have so much more to unpack. You first learned about the why, as one of our SIP goals this year is a literacy goal, which states in every class, all students will engage in rigorous learning tasks which promote higher level thinking, entail meaningful discourse, and increase student capacity around portrait of a graduate skills. That brings us to the what. We have begun learning around the instructional core, how the student, the teacher, and the learning task interact to create a learning experience. And today we're going to dig into the how of what literacy can look like in our classrooms. We know that literacy involves the reading, writing, thinking, and discussing within each discipline. So we're going to learn one way that you might support students in thinking before they speak or discuss in your classroom. And this is where visible thinking routines come in. So when students engage in the learning tasks that we design, they're thinking about the content in our classrooms. However, when those thoughts are only living inside students' head, we don't actually know what students are learning. So visible thinking routines are a way to make students' thinking visible. They provide evidence of student learning that we as teachers can see to help us inform future instruction. So visible thinking routines, what they are in essence, is they take complex thinking processes and they break that thinking down into manageable concrete steps. And the idea is if we're doing a routine, we're practicing it multiple times so that students begin to own that process. It's really training their brain to be able to engage in that complex thinking. So one example, if I'm thinking of this complex thinking process, considering others' viewpoints on a topic, an example of a visible thinking routine is circle of viewpoints. So the way that this works, it gives them a process to go through. I am thinking of blank from the perspective of blank. I think blank. I give my opinion from that perspective. And a question I have is, I give a question from that perspective. In order to evaluate a proposed decision, I might use the routine compass points, which asks students to write and think about what excites them about a proposal, what is worrisome about it, what do they still need to know, and what stance or suggestion would they suggest for moving forward. If I'm trying to demonstrate understanding, I might use something like think, Parashare, or think, write, Parashare. You probably knew these before today, but didn't realize they were visible thinking routines. That's the benefit of Harvard's Project Zero. They came up with a lot of these routines for us. Some of them are more common, like this one, and others you might not have heard of yet. And another demonstrating understanding routine is color, symbol, image. And another one, yet again, is see, think, wonder. So you'll see, even though these are routines for demonstrating understanding, we have a lot of different ways to engage student in that kind of thinking. So now that we have an understanding of what they are, we're going to learn and practice a few routines. Keep in mind these are just a few routines out of dozens on the Project Zero site, and these examples that I'm modeling show just one way that you can consider using the routine. You can innovate what this routine looks like in your class depending on the lesson, content, and learning outcomes. So you'll find new ways to engage students in the routines and really make them your own. So first we're going to practice a see, think, wonder, and we'll be doing this with a photograph. So we're going to pretend that we are currently in a Spanish classroom and we're studying culture and keywords around culture. So what I would ask students to do is take a couple of moments to look at the photograph and jot down notes. What do you see? What do you think? And what do you wonder? So at this time, go ahead and pause the video, and I'd like you to engage in this. So really take time to notice little things about this photograph, thinking about what it says about these people's culture. What do you see? What do you think? And what do you wonder? Go ahead and pause. Welcome back. Now that you wrote down what you were thinking, go ahead and share that thinking aloud with your learning buddy. So you might take turns, first share what you see, then share what you think, then share what you wonder. Go ahead and pause the video again. Thank you for seeing, thinking, and wondering. Now we're going to take a look at sentence, phrase, word, another routine. So this is a part of an article on Newsella. So we're going to read through just this small portion today, and we're really thinking about what Greta's message is and what she's saying about climate change. So as you're reading, I want you to jot down what sentence is most important to you, what phrase is most important to you, and what word is most important to you. So you're going to take some time to write down those thoughts, and when you're done, go ahead and share with your learning buddy out loud. Go ahead and pause the video at this time to do that. Thank you for sharing. If you're interested in looking at this full article, you can open a new tab and head to bit.ly/NewsellaGreta. That will bring you to the full article. The next activity that we're going to do, or routine, is options explosion. So the first two routines that we did are understanding routines. They're just trying to get us to understand. This routine is a creativity routine, so it's more about generating ideas. So what we're going to do is read through this text just for about 2 minutes, and then we're going to create some ideas on something. So the prompt that you will be creating for is, what might you design to dissuade students from trying e-cigarettes or to convince a friend to stop using e-cigarettes? So here's what we're going to do to approach that challenge. You'll take 2 minutes to read through this article. Then when you're done, get some Post-its handy and first list the obvious options. What are the obvious ways that we could dissuade someone from smoking or from continuing to smoke e-cigarettes? Then list the more creative or hidden options. What might be more exciting to do? And then we're going to have you share with your learning buddies about what you've learned from the situation from finding these options. So take a couple of minutes to read the article, which you can find by opening a new tab and typing in bit.ly/eCigText. Then you'll follow the first 2 steps by yourself on Post-its, and then you'll come together to share aloud with your learning buddy and then discuss with your learning buddy. What have we learned about the situation from finding these options? Go ahead and pause this video to engage in these steps. Now that you've practiced a few visible thinking routines, we're going to take a look at some next steps. When you're thinking about bringing in more speaking opportunities through visible thinking routines, first you're going to want to identify a clear learning outcome for your lesson. Pay attention to the thinking level that's required in your learning target. So you want to take a look at your standard and maybe match that up with what kind of thinking do you want your students to do. So match up the thinking level with either understanding, fairness, truth, or creativity routine. And you'll have some options to choose from in work time. And from there, you're going to pick a visible thinking routine that makes the most sense for your learning outcome and kind of thinking, and embed it into your lesson. So really think about what's going to support your students' thinking best and lead to disciplinary discourse. For your final takeaways today, please get out one more sticky note, and you're going to write, I used to think, and now I think. After you'll write, you'll share aloud with a partner. My example is, I used to think visible thinking routines were just about thinking, and now I think that with the right routines, students can actually be reading, writing, thinking, and discussing content in one learning task. Now it's your turn to think, write down on Post-its or in a notebook, and then share.